What does it take to build a successful startup? To bring ideas into reality?
So you have to hustle. Like, are you born with a silver spoon? Is your dad Bill Gates? Then you have to hustle.
Ayotunde is the founder of Jendaya, a marketplace where consumers living across the globe with a deep appreciation for the richness of our African culture can enjoy a curated shopping experience.
When it comes to raising, there's different stages.
In this podcast, we talk about the diaspora, the world's interest in Africa, and what it takes to bring ideas into reality.
I want more than just a piece. Wanna be heard from the west to the east. I worked in my craft and I prayed for my time on the scene. The man have never left my team. 19, learned the right creed. Nah, I'm not a right breed, but I might be. In my crease, Nikes, hit up my G. I'll still never sell out my theme. Well, you know about heritage, you go inherited. Don't chill with the snakes, but the flow's still venomous. Perspective is everything. So much lemonade, I don't know what a lemon is.
Are we good to go? Yeah. Okay. Ayo.
Hello,
It's exciting to have you here.
Finally.
I'm kind of on this track now where I'm basically bringing all my friends on the podcast. But it also happens that I have a lot of friends who are doing amazing things, and you are right at the top.
You're lying.
Why are you laughing? Dear. No, I'm being so serious. I think you're doing really great work, and obviously
Thank you, sir.
The video we just showed talks a bit about what you do. But I did say I'm doing this new thing now with these episodes where I'm actually giving people the chance to just explain who they are in their own words. So if you had to talk about yourself, who Ayra is, you know, how would you describe just who you are?
How would I describe Ayo? I would say I'm a startup founder. You know that thing where your job or you as a founder becomes your whole life. I'm trying to deviate from that, but I'd say I'm a startup founder. I'm interested in music, fashion, mentoring others behind me. And I think I'm a good friend. I think I'm a good friend. I don't know why I felt the need to mention that, but yeah, I think there's been a lot going on recently, and I feel like, I'm a good person to have in people's network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's dive into that, because we can talk at length about what you're doing and the startup you're building. It's amazing, and I think some people will click on this because they want to find out about that. But on the friendship thing. So one of the kind of narratives around founders is, you have to become so focused on what you're building. You basically obsess over what you're building for a few years. A lot of your personal relationships are strained. Is that what you've experienced trying to build what it is you're trying to build?
Of course, 100%. There's that strain, and there's that pressure because you have to be laser focused, and that is your life. And you sacrifice. I've sacrificed. I know what I've given up to kind of do this full time, and it does seem glitzy and glamorous because of the industry I work in. But what I've come to realize in sitting down and reflecting is that I show up for my friends. I show up. I might be late, but I show up.
That's good.
And I make it a priority to be present and show up. So I'm like, hey, I think I'm juggling this well.
Yeah. I need to learn from you on that, because I was speaking just in the previous episodes about what happens inevitably when you're trying to do something hard is you start to kind of attach your personal well-being to the thing you're building.
Yeah.
So if the thing you're building is going well, you're up. If it's down, then you're down. And obviously that's not healthy, because in startup world, it's so staccato, it's so up and down, like it's just not healthy. You look tired. I don't mean that in that you're actually tired, but I know that you weren't even in this country a few days ago. Where were you? What were you doing?
I was in Riyadh. We were out there on a fashion expo.
Is that in Bradford? Is that Manchester?
It's in Saudi Arabia. Okay. Which you're going to in a month, I think.
Well, in a few weeks.
A few weeks, yeah. So I was in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia on an expo sponsored by the government and their Ministry of Entertainment. It was a streetwear sneaker expo, and we were shortlisted as one of the platforms or brands to be out there. So it was good because we, got to interact with the UAE kind of market. They spend a lot of money, they like luxury, and just a new experience. And who would have thought? I think this year I've been to the most places, I've traveled the most this year in my adult life, and most of those trips have been for Jendaya, so which has been great. So yes, it was a new experience, and yeah, I'll probably go back out there.
Really?
Yeah, I liked it.
And was it like what we see, you know, human rights abuses, dangerous, don't go there, that girl is so dangerous? I don't know why that's in my head, but yeah. Was it like that?
Oh my God, no.
Really?
It wasn't. It wasn't like that. And we had some good conversations with some of the guys that we met out there. And I was just so like, because of that narrative, I was so taken aback that they knew all the latest music. I know, it's crazy, you know. They knew everything. And I was like, how are you guys so exposed? And they were like, yeah, because of this and that. And I was like, this is so cool. And but yes, there is that difference. There's that difference. I think the UK cushions us so much, and oftentimes we're like, I can't wait to leave, I want to move. And then you go elsewhere and you're like, oh my gosh, like we have it really good. Yeah. The world is really your oyster in the UK.
Yeah.
And there's so many, again, those guys we met out there that are, you know, great people, ambitious, and they have all these dreams, and they so badly want to come to the UK. And I'm just like, oh gosh, okay.
Yeah, well, the pound isn't that great, so well, right now, so I don't think they should be rushing here at all.
I don't think so either.
They should spend some more time there. It's so fascinating. Was it like Dubai? This kind of this whole Saudi thing? Because I wasn't, you know, I've never thought about going to Saudi Arabia. It's it's literally never been in my mind. Yeah. Even Dubai, like I'm one of probably the few people, the last friends I know who've never been to Dubai neither. Like, you know, was it like Dubai? Was there any differences?
They're trying to make it like Dubai. It's got probably 5 to 10 years out. And I say they've got to change things like allowing people to drink and stuff. But as someone who doesn't really... Is that what
you're waiting for?
No, but as someone who doesn't really... Don't do that. As someone who doesn't really drink...
I'm just asking the question.
As someone who doesn't even really drink at all, really... I don't think it's necessary for them to change that for it to really become like Dubai. The reason why I said they're 5 to 10 years out is because there's still so much to build. Yeah. And you're there and it's like develop, derelict and abandon, and then develop. And so you can tell it's on its way, but it's great. They have all of the stuff. I mean, from a fashion perspective, they have the malls with all the big brands in there. They have Nusret there. We went there.
Important places.
You know, so yeah. Saudi's nice. I'd go there again. Well, Riyadh is nice. There's obviously Jeddah and Mecca, and which are probably more, you know,
more religious. More kind of, you know,
So
maybe not for tourists. Per se.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fascinating. Before we get into what you're doing, and I do want to get into there. I'm just trying to remember when we first met. As you were speaking, I was like, when did I first meet you? Do you remember when it was?
I'm trying to remember right now, because we've always had like mutual friends, and we've always like kind of crossed paths. Yeah. And then through that, it was like, I know you, and you're like, I know you, and then it was like, oh, we're friends. But it was I don't think it was.
I can't think of like an impetus.
Yeah. It was just that. Oh, I see you. I always see you. It's like, oh, hey, bro, friends.
Yeah. I mean, it's been years.
Yeah.
And you know, I bring that up because I'm just wondering, you know, if you're one of those founders who. You know, from a young age, you've always been building businesses. You know, I spoke about it in the previous podcast. And we had a Q&A episode. And I was like, I was never an entrepreneur. I didn't sell in school.
Spoke about that.
Never. So like with you, you're now, your business is kind of in the fashion industry, high fashion. And you're gonna tell us a bit more about it. But before we get there, did you always think you'd be doing this? Has this always been a sort of, at some stage, I will be a business person or founder or something like that?
So 2 things. I always knew I was interested in fashion because when I'd watch things, so let's say we've watched the same thing. Your takeaway could have been like, oh, I wonder, like that political sort of commentary there. I wonder how it really plays into real life. What I would have taken away from that same thing is, I really like that suit he was wearing in that second scene. I wonder what designer it is. I'm going to go find it.
Got it.
So I've always been interested in fashion. And then as I, you know, went to uni and all of that stuff, I always used to tell my friends, everyone, I was gonna be a banker and then leave to work at GQ. So I always would say I was going to work in fashion eventually, but I was going to do the whole corporate thing. So I knew I was interested in fashion, and I knew I wanted to leave at some point to work in the industry. But I didn't know that. I was, as we said, I wasn't an entrepreneur like that. I never sold anything and whatnot from early. So I didn't know that I'd have my own business. I just knew I wanted to eventually work in fashion. So how that manifested, to this point, when I was working on my grad scheme at SocGen, kind of the grad program they had, I started a magazine. It was a lifestyle and fashion magazine. And I guess I always forget that element when I'm speaking to investors and stuff about my background and my journey. But everyone reminds me how important and how interlinked that is, because that was my first foray into being a fashion entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there's so many crossovers and so many people and things that I did back then and brought into the mix of art value, as it was called, that are now like kind of showing up and reflecting with the journey with Jendaya. So that was how it first showed up. I was like, whilst I was working, I started a magazine, and then I was like, I want to do a master's, and I knew it had to be an entrepreneur. It had to be an entrepreneurial
Why
master's.
is that?
Just because I think at that point I knew that my thing was, if I was gonna give up earning and whatnot, it needed to be a master's that I would enjoy, and that was going to be relevant to my newfound interest in being an entrepreneur. So that entrepreneur awakening came when I was like working my grad job. It wasn't something that from early I knew that I was going to be.
That's fascinating, actually, because a lot of people listening and watching to this, and by the way, guys, you know, I'm speaking up for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and I'm joking. A lot of the people who are watching this probably are in a full-time job.
Yes.
In fact, this lovely producer we have behind the scenes,
lovely.
She asked me to bring her up at some stage, so this is what's happening. She's someone who also, you know, in a professional career, you know, doing well, that kind all that kind of good stuff. And then there's, you know, you start getting this business idea bubbling inside of you, or like you kind of think, I can do more, I can do something else, whatever it is. How hard is it to actually quit your job and jump at this world of trying to make your ideas come to life?
How hard is it? I think it's as hard as you make it. It's as hard as you make it, and the reason why I say that,
self-help podcast activated.
It's as hard as you make it, because if you really think that, oh my gosh, I can't live without this job, and I don't really believe in this idea, but I want to try it out, and I've got all of these other responsibilities, which is maybe not of your fault or of your choice, then you're gonna really be stuck. But if you think, actually, I want to hustle, I want to take a risk, then you'll do it.
But who wants to hustle though? Because I hear that all the time.
I mean, but this is the thing, like, this is, I guess, risk. The profile is, you know, high risk, high reward, or is the saying is high risk, high reward. And if you really want something, you go for it, and nothing good is ever easy. But that's the reality. Like, these things sound cheesy, so you have to hustle. Like, are you born with a silver spoon? Is your dad Bill Gates? Then you have to hustle. Simple.
Yeah, I think the reason I bring up hustle is because I remember kind of 3 years into doing Common Sense.
Can I have asterisks?
Yeah, go ahead.
You have to hustle if you're not obviously silver spoon.
Yeah.
But hustle sensibly, work smart, not hard. But you can't escape the hustle. You can't escape the hustle.
I think for me, the work, you know, maybe it might just be terms, right? So work hard. I'm on board. I remember when I first kind of had that kind of, you know, response to hustle when 3 years into Common Sense, someone was like, how's it going? How's the hustle? And I was like, hustle? I was like, sir, I'm not trying to hustle.
Soft life. You were the first ambassador of soft life.
I absolutely detest that term. And I am not part of that camp at all. I love hard work. You know, a fair day's wage for a hard day's work. That's you know. But my point is, the beginning of anything is always difficult because you're trying to get traction. But after a while, I think, you know, you should sort of get to a stage where you're starting to see some smooth sailings, right? And but I guess hustle just connotes just like burning at both ends. Just
and I've never, and that's the thing. That's why I thought, well, let me asterisk that, because I don't think I'm one of those founders who sleepless nights, and sleepless nights. It's never for like just because sleepless nights, because it might be because we have a really big conversation or meeting, and I might lose a bit of sleep because I'm like anxious about it and whatnot. But I've never just been one of those like founders to be like, oh, I need to, like, everyone needs to know that I'm a founder, because and that expresses itself in long nights and just like, okay, No, that's never.
I'm trying to think if I've had a sleepless night. Maybe I'm a really bad founder.
No, you're not a bad founder.
Do you know what it is? I think when we did a Kickstarter campaign to get started, right? So Kickstarter is one of those all or nothing platforms. It's actually a really good platform if you're looking to launch a product, because it demonstrates a market even before you kind of have anything. So for instance,
this is not a paid ad for Kickstarter, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ones. There's lots of there's other platforms are available. But my point is,
stares into Mike.
My point is, if you're trying to raise 10K and you can find 600 people to give you a bit of money to raise that 10K, then you've demonstrated the market exists for what you're doing. 100, 200, 300 people put that in their pocket. But I remember when we were doing the Kickstarter campaign, trying to raise £50,000 in 50 days. I do remember definitely having a sleepless night because it was all or nothing. Because if you miss it
sometimes.
But beyond that, bro, maybe it's because I'm a Christian. Jesus promises peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yes, and I like that. I like that. I like that. Woo.
I'm playing, and so I'm not playing. He does offer that.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'm
aligned with that.
Maybe it's
and
that.
That's probably why.
I can't remember really having
we've just agreed.
Yeah.
You've the sleepless nights that I remember I described is usually just because I'm preparing for something or I'm waiting on an answer because it's high stakes. But other than that, I'm enjoying the journey. Not that it's not hard. Not that I don't feel it's strenuous. Not that I don't sometimes feel like, wow, I've really chosen this like hard, like, but I'm cool. I'm chilled. I'm like, it's gonna work out.
That's the one.
It's happened before.
I found that the journey is just as important as like the destination, which is something I know it sounds cliche, but bro,
goalposts always
we've got a space here now, which wasn't oh, thank you,
yes,
thank you,
which
was an achievement, right, for us. But at the same time, the 4 years where I was surfing Starbucks. I enjoyed that. Yeah. I met interesting people. I had random conversations. That was good as well. Now I know someone listening is like, "What does he do?
What do I do?"
So people will be wondering, at some stage you got to talk about what you do. So let's talk about what you're building, Jendaya. Let's talk about the mission statement. I mean, you're literally pitching to random people from around the world, right now. So I'm sure you've got everything in check. So stage is yours.
Woo! Thank you. So Jendaya is a luxury e-commerce platform for the global citizen, Africa included. I think I've said that a million times now. So I mean, to put it in context, it's like Farfetch, but for Africa, with the focus on Africa. Notwithstanding, it's still a very global platform. So our focus is the consumer shopping from the continent: Malawi, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, wherever. But that customer in itself is also very global. They're very metropolitan. They're exposed. They're worldly. So in itself, in that essence, Jendaya is for the global citizen, the global luxury buyer. But we just have a focus on those coming from the continent, because when you're back home, where do you go? As one of my friends says, where do you go to get drip when you're back home? And it's like, yeah, that's true. Where do they go? And what they do is they often send friends, family, or use a personal shopper to get their goods, their luxury goods, into the continent. So essentially, first to market, building something that is of the level and standard of Net-a-Porter, of Matches, of Farfetch, but for Africa. That's essentially at its core what we do.
So like, I get it, but I think I always like to do this kind of simple walkthrough. We just sat down, I don't know when we recorded it, with a founder of some a new cashless currency for homeless people or something like that. And he explained it, but I just did what I'm about to do now, which is kind of walk through it. So essentially, I'm in Africa or anywhere really, but let's say I'm in Africa, I'm in Nigeria.
I was going to tell you to get specific.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In Africa.
I'm not that person. What did you do last week? I went to Africa. I'm like, really?
Africa?
Yeah. It reminds me of Mean Girls. Remember Mean Girls?
Yeah, I remember
that film.
What's the line?
There was a period where she's from Africa.
She's from Africa. Yeah.
Anyways. I'm in Africa. I'm in Nigeria.
Yes.
I won, some new Balenciagas.
Balenciagas.
What are they?
No, they're right, but it was the way you said it.
I want some Balenciagas. Am I pronouncing it right?
You are.
Okay.
Balenciagas. Yeah, go on.
And so, right now, how do I get it?
Yeah, your current options is either to get your cousin Taiwo in London when he's coming back.
Well, I have no black cousins. My name is, I'm joking.
Well, I'm telling you your options, right? I'm telling you your options. It's to get your cousin in the States, in Dubai, in London, to bring them back for you, even though you need them tomorrow and he's coming in a week. option one. Or you do find one of these existing platforms, Essence, Matches, whatever, who do deliver to that country in Africa you are in, but it's likely to take quite a while, and they're going to add quite a bit of a levy
shipping
on top
costs
of that,
and those kind of things.
a hefty one, because customs is always the same. Customs.
Got it.
Or then thirdly, your other option is to use a personal shopper, and obviously a personal shopper is going to add their levy on top of that. So those are your three options. Jendaya comes into play, and the same way here, if I wanted exactly those same pair of Balenciagas, I don't really have to think about it. There's about 10, 12 different platforms I can go on that I can have the peace of mind to, for one, have the choice and the luxury experience to receive those Balenciagas the time and day and how I want it, where I want it. So Jendaya is trying to be that for the African continent.
And would it be like an app, or would it be like a website?
So it's a website currently, but we're definitely making it into an app.
Yeah.
Because app usage in Africa is the second biggest after China. So
Really?
it's important.
That's so fascinating, because you wouldn't think that, would you?
No, everyone has a phone, right? So mobile usage is also the second biggest, after China. I think I just said that. So it's important. And just generally, even in luxury e-com, all of the luxury e-commerce platforms have an app. Interesting, because I don't shop luxury on an app, but every single luxury e-commerce platform has an app. So it's an indication of something. So we're building an app anyway.
Yeah.
But for Africa, we 100% are building an app because of the data.
The reason I just think like this is such a like the focus in Africa I welcome. It's because so many people, mainly in this country, always think about Africa as like an afterthought, when it's literally one of the biggest markets that we ought to be kind of thinking about, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think what happens is Africa is always the final frontier of every industry. So think of any industry. Africa is always the last place people go to extract that growth and tap into the wealth and the wealth opportunity and the growth opportunity. It's no different with fashion. Africa is now that final frontier. We've done Europe, we've done America, we've done Asia. Middle East is having its run right now. Africa has the second fastest compound annual growth rate in terms of personal luxury goods buying, after the Middle East. So Africa is now the focus. So it's like, okay, it's a perfect timing, as well as everything else. The global conversation around Africa, Afrobeats is like the genre of the moment. It's the zeitgeist. So that is coinciding with the fact that Africa is where everyone's attention should be now, especially for things like entertainment, luxury, and things like that.
But what do you think about all this new attention in Africa, though? Do you think it might be extractive and exploitative in some way, or do you welcome it? Because, of course, I don't want to get political, but we know about colonization. We know about China's interest in Africa. These aren't all just benevolent, great things. And now a lot of businesses that are thinking about Africa, are they thinking about it solely as a market to tap into and extract as much as you said, profit or whatever it is? Or do you think there's going to be long-lasting change in building the infrastructure? Because that might be what someone's saying, is that all these businesses are just going to Africa to just mine it again for resources and then cut.
I think I'll speak to the fashion industry, which is what I know a bit more. So what I can say is that African designers, I think, are getting their just due. It doesn't seem like a smash and grab sort of job at the moment with the luxury industry on the continent. It's we have Orange Culture, Tokyo James, Onalaja, Rich Mincy. There's so many Killentar. There's so many brands that are doing amazing things, and all their founders are from the continent. What's his name? Why am I forgetting it? I can see it in my mind right now. Kenneth Eze, all of these guys, they're doing amazing things, and they're from the continent, and they're getting.
And who are they? Are they designers?
Designers, and and there's other people in the creative industry who are not just designers, photographers. Stephen Tayo. We have people who are also facilitating the growth of the industry, who are getting their just due. So merchandisers and retailers from the continent who are being recognized. So I think, in terms of the accreditation with the growth, I think those from the continent are getting their just due. Yeah. So I don't think it's exploitative.
Yeah, I mean, I only bring it up because it was literally a conversation I was having weeks ago, especially on Afro beats. on Afrobeat, and how
You know what? I don't think it's exploitative in Afrobeats.
have you seen
because they're all making
just Kelly Rowland.
She just jumped on that Ayra Starr. We took Ayra Starr to the Burberry after party, and she was going to go to the show through us as well.
Did you see that song? What was your thoughts if you haven't listened yet?
I have listened to it.
Sorry,
I've listened to it. What did I think? I like Kelly Rowland.
Likewise, she's an icon, legend.
Yeah. What did I think of the remix? Come on the show, Kelly. What did I think of the song? I don't know. I didn't really like the remix. I just thought sounds cool, but it didn't really take me anywhere. I was just like, okay, cool. And it's a good look for Ayra. I liked it for her, and what it means for the culture. Kelly's obviously a legend, so I liked it for that. But I don't know. I didn't like it beyond the look. And sometimes things don't have to be more than a look, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Ayra actually benefited off it way more than Kelly did.
Absolutely.
So this is what I was going to circle back and say in terms of it being exploitative with Africa and Afrobeats. I don't think it is. All of them are making it's not all about money, but money is a big part of that, right? They're making, these guys, gone are the days where you're an Afrobeats artist and you're struggling. These guys are making what they should be making because they are in the genre of the moment. Whether you're a newbie or an older, you're seeing the fruits of your cultural impact. So I don't think they're being exploited,
and it's really good to see.
Yeah,
right? It's really
great
good to see, especially historically not seeing.
Yeah,
I just find it. I mean, from a music level, I just think it's so interesting when Americans jump on African. It just changes the vibe.
Before I used to feel like that, like, oh, why are they just jumping on it now? We've known about it for years, but why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? I think I'm equating. I often do this now, but I equate the run Afrobeats is having with like hip hop. Like, so I say Afrobeats is in its year 2000s era of hip hop. So, hip hop started in the 80s. So if you bet on hip hop in the 80s, you're probably a billionaire now. Like a business idea or an artist or something, you've grown with them and, they're where they are now. So the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's and all of that of the world. What's his name? Dr. Dre's. In the 2000s, then it became it started to be the phenomenon that it is now. And if you bet on it then, you weren't the earliest, but you've probably got a bang for your buck. And now it's the most popular genre in the world. Hip hop is, and still and consistently has been for a few years, So Afrobeats is having its 2000s run now, where everyone who's coming in is going to be successful and is making waves, and they're the talk of the town. So if you didn't bet on it back then, bet on it now. Otherwise, you're missing the moving train. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's shift gears and talk about behind the scenes. I always love talking about behind the scenes. As someone who's involved in God knows how many random projects and businesses and organizations, I love behind the scenes because luxury is something that looks lovely. Of course, it's luxury, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done to make it work. So you got this amazing idea, this business idea, right? Which you've articulated to our listeners and viewers. So how does one make that a reality? Do you just get to work? Do you have to? I mean, how does it work? How do you actually make that a reality?
Yeah, no. So I guess I'll answer that through the journey that we took. So we entered a luxury e-commerce. No, it was a luxury startup. It was a luxury startup. It was a competition for luxury startups with the University of Monaco in 2018. Yes, in 2018, and we got to the semi-finals, and we thought, oh, this idea definitely has legs. I mean, the research that we did before that showed that, and the personal anecdotes.
Yeah.
So then it was like the competition made us do a pitch deck. So we did that pitch deck and it helped us crystallize our thoughts even more. Then I did a master's in why am I forgetting what is it entrepreneurism or entrepreneur? Oh my Lord, what is that? What would it be called?
What you're asking me? The masters you did.
Entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I thought you were asking me the masters you did.
Yeah, I was asking you the masters I did because for a second there I forgot the word. I did a masters in entrepreneurship, which in real time helped me again to crystallize and to understand what exactly you need to do and what it takes to turn an idea into reality. So the luxury startup competition, doing a masters, and then I worked at a startup for a year and a bit.
And that was mainly to learn.
I needed money. and
Good.
also
Got
learning. I needed to learn. So I worked there, and they just got acquired. So it was good to see what that environment was like and that transitionary period. So I did that. And again, from that, learning lessons and speaking to people. Again, learning and unlearning is what I like to call the whole period of being a founder. You don't know everything, and every day is a learning and unlearning and an unlearning moment.
Yeah.
So doing that, and then we kind of also launched the first aspect or first iteration of Jendaya, kind of the less atrocious sort of version of that, which was a blog essentially, content only, where we were covering different individuals from the design and fashion scene who were African, whether from the continent or globally. And through that's how we got the exposure and the kind of people looking into what we were building, and then raising funds during that period. And also during this period, networking like crazy, going to events, speaking to people introducing me to people who would then introduce me to people, which is what allowed us to get into spaces during that period I was consulting again for a company called Disturb in London. So even through that opportunity, I met people who introduced me to other people who, I took that back to the journey that I was building on Jendaya. And then we launched the e-commerce platform, so which is the current iteration, which is like MVP2 currently, which is invite only. So we did that intentionally to keep it small, and to also be in line with the funds we had raised from family and friends.
Got it.
So that's kind of the journey so far. And right now we're raising a pre-seed round, so to scale to the next level.
Got it. Yeah. And it's interesting because it's a business that really works at scale. It needs to be at scale.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah. So that's okay. So let's do this. This is, I guess, fun.
Yes.
Sorry, I sound like a robot. I guess this is fun.
Yes.
Sounds like a producer handed me a game. Like, we should now play a game.
This game. Yeah.
This will be fun. So, I mean, part of me, I'm in two minds because in fact, let's talk a bit more about the raise, and then I guess. But again, I know that it's live, right? So there's so much happening. I don't want to open that box. If
I can just tell you the stuff that I'm allowed to share.
Okay, that might be helpful because I think I was wondering how to tie that up, but I think that might be helpful if you just share. So you're trying to raise, you're trying
what's the
because it works at
traction,
scale. Yeah, some people might be like, what does that look like and what's going on there?
Okay, so when it comes
before we play the game,
so when it comes to raising, there's different stages. Again, by the book, my masters taught me about what that looks like, right?
So there's proceed.
There's family and friends.
See?
So, and again, some of these stages are new. So they've not, by the book. So there's family and friends where we raised just over 250K over 2 years. And we are venture backed through that round. So we got some VC investing us in there. We have Maisie Williams, Ayra Starr from Game of Thrones is one of our angel investors, and a lot of great family and friends, who believe in us. But at that stage when you're trying to raise, because family and friends should be the easiest round to raise because it's
normally it's normally a lot less.
Yes, it's normally a lot less. You're asking for a lot less, and family and friends believe in you. So even without a deck, if they believe in what you're building and they believe in that passion, they'd write you a check as long as they can afford that minimum, right? So that's what we did for two and a bit years, whilst we were learning and unlearning, as I call it, and building that first iteration up until the current iteration. That has gotten us to where we are now. Now, the next round after that is usually a pre-seed or a seed, but usually a pre-seed in this day and age. So that pre-seed is where you usually rely heavily on institutional investors like VCs and angels that can write hefty size checks, maybe even up to $1 million because they've got it like that, right? And at this point is where you need traction. Some good traction. Other people, yes, have the privilege of raising pre-seeds and seeds without the business up and running.
They tend to have less melanin in their skin.
Yes, that too. Or it's a fintech or crypto startup and it's like, let's put some money in that. Let's give you $3 million to build this thing you've shown me on paper. So to raise those pre-seeds and seeds and beyond, usually need traction. What does traction look like for us? We've got over 100 brands that are on the e-com side, so you can shop on the platform. Obviously, if you've got the access code, because that is part of the iteration currently, it's invite only. We've made over 100K in contracted work, and I'll come to that where a lot of that is coming from at the moment, in revenue from the e-com and contracted work. We have, we've been featured in like, Business of Fashion, Vogue Business, and in terms of what traction also looks like for us is that we have clients, not just brands that you can buy on the platform, but Jendaya has an agency in which we help brands access the continent. We help brands show their intentionality and navigate the continent of Africa from a luxury or premium perspective.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, so clients like Oswald Boateng, Paul Smith, Casablanca, Burberry, and we do everything from data and insights to ads and marketing to brick and mortar partnership sourcing to the things that a lot of people have seen, getting dressing Burna Boy in Casablanca, getting Davido and AG to the Burberry show, things like that. That's what people see, quite a bit. So, it ranges, but that agency during this pilot period has been great. That's like our B2B business, and the B2C is the e-com.
And that's great because most businesses now, I mean, you want to have obviously multiple streams of income, but you also want a kind of adaptive, business model that doesn't have one kind of revenue stream or one kind of profit, because then it's so hard. Yeah. So I love the fact that businesses these days will have a very thriving B2B side, even whilst they're kind of building. Yeah. So is that something you've done intentionally, or is it sort of happened?
So we always knew we had a B2B business within Jendaya. We always knew that we had it, but the way it manifested itself was, I think it was like accidentally. We didn't intend to explore that B2B side during this e-com pilot. But in February, one of our advisors, who also manages a really big sports brand in West Africa, a global sports brand, she was like, look, Davido's in town, I want you to come and just help us sort things out. So we went there. We essentially were the social media managers, the content managers, and David's chaperone for the day. And it was kind of like, well, this is a service we're doing for Puma. Okay. So then it was like, okay, we can charge for this. We can send an invoice for this. And then, funnily enough, that same weekend was kind of like the beginning of my friendship. Well, with like a really big creative director. You know who I'm talking about.
I don't. Oh, I do. But are you don't know how to say it? Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't. And then and so I met him for the first time after we had just been speaking. We met at the WizKid concert, and then we've just been speaking online. I met him for the first time properly in person that same weekend, and I was like, by the way, we just worked with Puma doing this stuff for Davido. Yeah. Can we dress him for his tour, and can he come to the show, your show? And he was like, kind of like, yeah, why not? And then we started doing work with Burberry. Yeah. So, and then it started like and then we started getting reverse inquiries. This person's manager and that person's manager, whether sports stars, musician, NBA players.
And the funny thing is, that's actually a whole business in and of itself, right? That if you're smart, and this is probably good advice for people who are building a business, because the same thing happened with us. We're trying to build this news network, and you're trying to generate traction, users, readers, and it got to a stage where we had maybe 12,000 people on our email list, and we were like, oh, there's a lot of people kind of thing. But again, because my goal is 200,000, I'm like, this is nothing. We need to work harder. Until a brand says, oh, we'll pay you 10K to access just them. Yeah. And you guys just send this to them. And I'm like, sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like 10K. And I was like, sorry, what? Yeah. Then you realize this is, even whilst we're trying to get to where we need to be,
on that B2C side,
there's a lot you can do B2B. And, again, speaking to, say, black people, for instance, our culture, I think, is so special that a lot of businesses, they want to tap into it. Diversity is something they're interested in. And so if you're building a business, that's actually something you could monetize even before you develop a really, great,
spectacular,
revenue model. That's something you can, people can pay you right now to access what the audience you're building. And you just, even the rise of micro influencers is another interesting thing, right? You with 4,000 followers on Twitter or on Instagram, you literally can make money from that. So I just find it's the best time to start something and to be able to finance it, because you can be making money whilst you're building the business. And that's just, it's genius from you guys that you've managed to see that
So that's really played a good part, and especially in the conversations we're having with certain investors, they love that. They love that part, and they're like, oh wow, that actually then impacts your B2C, because what you can do, because we're a marketplace, is actually take more commission, because what you're doing is building a market from scratch for all these guys. So so raising that pre-seed and traction, that's what that looks like. And then after, you raise a seed and then a series A, B, C, D until the exit, which is either an acquisition or you list. You go to market and an IPO.
An IPO,
yes.
Basically. Okay, so let's talk about some highlights, because some people watching this, maybe they're making tea or coffee and they're like, what, Burna Boy? So, of course, there's like behind the scene highlights. And it's always interesting for founders, what people think are highlights for you isn't what... I remember when we did like... I think there was one time like Simone Biles like followed us on Twitter or something. Everyone's like, oh, and I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. I really need a business that has repeatable kind of like income kind of vibe. Yeah. So let's not talk so much about that. Let's talk about just some of the high notes you've had, even from a kind of public facing side that's really made you think, oh, we're doing something here. We're onto something.
Yeah, we're doing something here. I think, the business highlights, as you mentioned, are the things that make me excited. So all of this other Burna Boy, I'm always just like, okay, great. I love those opportunities.
Get a picture.
And they should continue coming. Yeah. But the stuff that makes me excited is I think three things that have really made me.
Sorry. Is it stopped as well?
No, it's not stopped.
Yeah.
Just when you talk.
Yeah.
And you use your hand.
Yeah.
To not block your face.
Oh.
Because it's from this direction.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's helpful. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
So just start from 3 things.
Yeah. So the 3 things that were or have been exciting to me is one, Natalie Massenet. So befriending her. So in the pandemic, she's the founder of Net-a-Porter, the whole reason why luxury e-commerce exists, and to get her support, approval, backing. I mean, the conversations we've had, the validation. I mean, I think I've pretty much built myself up to the point where I think I know we're building something special.
Amazing.
But to hear from her, everything she's told us over the past 2 years, specifically the month of July into August, I was like... Oh, talk to me nice. So
I love it.
Natalie Massenet, one. Another person who's taken note of us, who I was like... Again, pretty early on, Carmen Busquets. She's invested in every fashion business, whether it's List, Farfetch, Net-a-Porter, Business of Fashion. Very early on, she followed us. We had a conversation, and we're continuously in her orbit, because some of the people on our advisory board have worked with her, or or in companies she's invested, and we've also heard great things back from her. So I'm like, okay, we must be doing something here. And then I guess thirdly, just being picked as one of the mentees for, there's a lot of Italians in luxury e-commerce and luxury fashion, but Federico Marchetti, who is the chairman and CEO of Yoox Net-a-Porter Group. So he's our mentor, and we touch base every so often, every few months. And he's also very excited about what we're building. And I'm like, okay, this is validation for me.
Yeah.
Everything else is cool, and it brings the viral moments, and it's what gets consumers talking and knowing about us. But I think those things is what really opens doors and gives me peace of mind. All right, it's not just the glitz and glam, it's real people acknowledging this.
And it's a really good, I mean, I think you're such a great case study, because, and I love people who build in public, because people get to watch you and see what's going on. You document your journey, people can follow you and see that. But I think the reason why it's such a great model, and it's actually something I did not do well. So this is one area I failed that you definitely succeeded. When we started Common Sense, our rhetoric was the mainstream media is broken. Everything in the media is broken. The media is a joke, the media is a mess. And so people were like, you're starting a news network, why not reach out to the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mail and editor-in-chief and then try and I was like, no, they are the problem. We're going to do it by ourselves, like a Nigerian man. We're going to work hard by ourselves, and we're going to do diligence and hard work, and the grace of God, we will succeed, kind of vibe, right? And thankfully, it hasn't been a total failure. There's been some cool things happen, but ultimately, it is something I kind of regret, for want of a better term, which is the best way to build, even if you're building a disruptor brand, is to consult folks who've been in the business for much longer, because some of those founders may still have destructive tendencies, i.e. they could have been destructive CEOs themselves. But as you know, when a business gets big, it's no longer you.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes it's the business that restricts them from doing what they really want to do. So when they spot you, a true
like,
disruptor, they're like, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't have the debt we have, doesn't have the debt financing, doesn't have doesn't have to move a staff of 12,000. So they're like, we can help him or her actually create the change in the market we've been trying to create, but we can't because we're locked in this kind of massive ship that it would take 10 years to turn around. And so if I approached the editor-in-chief of whatever, who knows whether they would have been like, oh yeah, like we definitely see the problem you see. Let's fund you. Let's make it work. Rather
it's not too late.
Of course
and
not.
I know you're already even doing those
I
things.
mean, there's lots of cool things happening behind the scenes. My point is, just as a case study for those who are starting their own businesses, principles of building. If you're starting something from scratch, survey the land. Who's been in here before? What's going on? And I just don't think people do that enough. They kind of just get into it, get building, go for it, and you're mate.
This is I think we talked about hustle earlier. I think when you hustle and you love what you're building and you're willing to sacrifice and all that good stuff, you also become a student of that industry, the student of the space. So a lot of the people I've just mentioned, to somebody else, it's like, who the hell are those people? But if you are a lover of the industry, if you know a lot about, or you learn, you're consistently seeing yourself as a student of the industry, you know that those people are important. You know, so.
I mean, one of the wildest things, just to your point about this, I remember speaking to somebody because, we do share an interest in fashion. I'm interested in fashion. I'm not interested in wearing clothes myself, but always been a student of especially history. And I remember someone telling me once that they wanted to start like a fashion brand and like high fashion, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, interested. And I remember mentioning to them, just like off the cuff, I was like, I actually just finished watching a documentary on Anna Wintour, moving from British Vogue into, whatever. And they were like, who's that? And I was like,
red flag.
I mean, as red flags go, I was like, bro, I was a bit confused. I was like, Anna Wintour. And they were like, no, never. And I thought, but you're starting a brand in you could just tell that they hadn't done the work. Or maybe and that's not even the work, because in my head, she's pop culture. She's not even it's not like secret knowledge, like if you know, you know. It's not a name you whisper. Do you know what I mean? She's kind of been there for a while. So it just made me realize. I remember speaking to her, I was like, I'm gonna send you a list of people you should kind of just at least explore, because this is your industry. Bear in mind, later on he actually asked me if I could invest in his kind of company, which as a friend, like I'm happy to do. But if I wasn't a friend, that would be a massive red flag. I don't think you know this industry, or you haven't done the work yet. Research the incumbents, work out what their issues are, work out who funded them. I mean, that's another clue. You're looking for funders for your business. Well, who funded the people who are a bit older than you? But again, some people don't know, and so that's why I say what you're doing is such a good example for how to do it, because people can take notes and watch, and for anyone who's building something, that is a clue. Look at people who've been successful, look at people who've even failed, who funded them. Reach out to them. I know you funded this. I know you have an interest in this in this market. Here's my thing. Here's how my thing's different. It doesn't have to be better on everything. Just be better on like two things or one thing, right? And already you're interested. Do community better, and suddenly people are interested in you. So I'm glad. Okay, so a quick game before we kind of have to kind of get out of here. Game, yeah, always good to have a game.
I wonder what this game is going to be.
Well, I think I've now overhyped it because I don't think it's that much of a game. I'm sorry. I think this is what happens when something's been drummed up. It's always a disappointment.
Come on, tell me.
I actually forgot the game.
What?
I'm joking. So,
this guy, come on.
So, essentially, what I want you to do is, so I'm someone who gets kind of criticism for always just wearing black.
I like black, but I think black's my favorite color. Likewise,
right? And there's some artists are like, it's not the color, it's the shade. And it's like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm always wearing black. I like black. I don't know why. I think I see myself as a sort of
Steve Jobs.
No,
okay.
I'm a black man.
Yeah, but the black Issey Miyake,
Yeah, maybe it was. I mean, yeah, fair, but I don't think black belongs to Steve Jobs. Of course, it's. Anyways, so
continue. Tell me the game.
It's not really a game. I would just want your advice.
Oh, okay.
Because you've
advice. That's not a fun game for me.
Well,
but actually, I do
I'm not
enjoy
trying to
it.
pay the commission, so I
Alright,
think,
go on.
or any fee. So I'm thinking this is a way I can get it for free. So you
Ijebu boy.
I'm in Nigeria,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
I'm
you
gonna get
are.
it for free.
Yeah.
So you've dressed Burner Boy, you dressed all
Adekunle
these
Gold.
Adekunle Gold. Who
all
else?
these
You know,
people, Ayra Starr.
Ayra
Who
Starr.
else we've done? We've done a few NBA players. Look at
Cool.
that, yeah.
So I'll be easier.
Is that the advice? You want your style advice?
So
go on.
should I still be wearing all black, or should what should
Danny
I?
Hope.
Dammy
Sorry.
Hope. Oh, that's
Yeah,
another.
yeah.
Who's he?
I was actually with him from
Who is
Love
he?
Island. Love
Oh,
Island. I was with him earlier.
Is he the winner?
Yeah. No. I think third place with India. Yeah.
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 I'm unfortunately I don't watch Love Island.
Yeah.
So I think I
You
know him.
you know him by face.
Yeah, I know India.
Yeah.
She's
See
the
that?
winner?
No, she's third place. India's really big, and that's her man,
This is
Dammy.
really awkward.
No, it's not.
I hope I haven't offended anybody who's like a diehard fan or something. But anyways, so it's not about Dammy right now. It's about me.
Yes. Go on. Go on. I'm
So
willing.
what should I do?
Yeah.
Like what should I be? And this is I'm really a proxy for all the people who are watching and listening who also want some advice
Style.
from someone like you.
Style what? Style
should I still be
advice.
wearing all black?
Yeah.
No, should I be changing up? Is all black old now? Do I need to switch up? Like how would you help me change?
You know what? You know what it is like. I get this quite a bit now, and a lot of friends like come to me to help. Oh, can you style me? Can you give me some
Yeah.
advice? And I love doing it. I love doing it.
So can you do it?
I can do it, and this is what I'm going to tell you. It's probably not the answer you want to hear.
Oh,
but
go away.
Style.
I don't want.
Come on. This
I'm so tired.
esoteric
So-
answer. Come on, let me tell you.
Fashion people are
Let
so
me tell you.
annoying.
Let me
They'll be
tell.
like, oh, just channel your energy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no,
I'm not even
tell
telling
me
you.
where to buy it and tell me what to wear.
No, I'm not a gatekeeper like that. I'll tell you where I get stuff from. No, but what I'm going to tell you is not going to be anything life changing. It's just that style is very individual, and you already have style, so there's nothing I can tell you.
No, but just give me advice.
There's nothing I can tell you.
Okay, yes.
That's going to change
but this is also
anything
for
that
other
you currently
people.
do. Let me
A lot
tell
of
you,
men wear
I'm giving
just
you
black.
good advice.
Okay,
Listen,
go ahead.
style is an individual thing.
Yeah.
And you can acknowledge when somebody has style, even if it might not personally work for you. I might not wear all the things you wear, but I can
Yeah.
tell you, Mike, as founder of the Common Sense Network, you have great style.
Thank
you have
you.
style
That's
that
very
works.
kind.
You have style that works for you. So I can see you. I can see you and be like, oh, bro, you look good. I might not necessarily wear what you're wearing, but I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it looks good on you because it's an individual thing, and you dress appropriately for your frame, for your build, for your job, for the impression you're trying to give off,
Got it.
right? So style is very individual, and you have great style for yourself.
Okay, so that's thank you,
And that's what everybody
I'll pay,
needs
I'll
to-
pay you later, right? But before
Yeah.
we leave, I do want you to speak to
On the zeitgeist.
all blackness.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Should we be changing that? Should I be wearing more color?
No.
Should I?
Why should you? It works for you. It works for you. And when you say all black, I mean, you're wearing some combats, you're wearing a cargo pants, you're wearing black Crocs, you're wearing a nice hoodie, and you've got a black t-shirt, and you've got some chains on and a grey hat.
You see my chain?
They can't see it. Sorry, sir. But I can. And
Okay.
that's great style.
Oh my gosh, can you see through clothes? Is that like one of your superpowers?
I can see it on the top corner of your thing. And you're not serious.
That's why they pay you.
No, all black is cool. And
Yeah.
even in a whole black outfit I've just mentioned, you're wearing different things that
different kinds of black.
different things that are black, but like different shapes and different like things, and it complements you, and so you don't need to change from the all black. But what I will comment on is what is that somebody asked me the other day, what is the zeitgeist? What should I be focusing on within my style? And I think streetwear is not going anywhere. What you're wearing right now is streetwear.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
streetwear is not going anywhere. Essentially, black culture. Yeah, you just did the
Proud-
fist.
proud to the
Yeah,
people.
literally, streetwear is black. Streetwear is black. It is born out of black culture. And what we're seeing right now is people from the culture assuming the highest positions in the most luxury houses, in the most prestigious brands. So the culture isn't going anywhere. The culture is here to stay. So whether it's H&M or whether it's Ralph Lauren or Bottega, wear it with your black swag. Wear it with your stamp.
I think if my mum could pull up a seat, she'd say wear more color. I remember she said, you are always wearing black.
You're always wearing
Why? Why? Are you going to a funeral? Why? You know. Because I and funny enough, I have been thinking about that. I've got a sponsorship with this clothing, whatever.
Slater.
And I have some neat clothes that I don't wear.
Yeah. Are they all black?
80%.
Yeah, and that's fine as long as you wear it nicely.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's easier, I think, to style black. You know, you can't get it.
You can't get it wrong.
Right?
Yeah, you can't get it wrong.
So I am trying to kind of use them to at least wear more color, because
if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it.
Yeah. This is quite interesting, actually. I mean, you've given me advice that I think is different to what I always say. People say you should wear more color, because when I wear color, everyone's like, oh, but I don't know if that's because I never wear color.
Yeah.
That's why they're like, wow, or if it's because they're actually like, because people, what I would never do is which is quite wild, is when people like wear like a red jumper and like a red hat. I'm like, yo,
why not? I mean,
again, it works for them.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. You get it.
Sometimes it doesn't
Exactly.
work, but you know what I mean. You know, style is individual, but you know, it's just very bright.
Yeah.
You know, you have some people who that's their personality. Which is cool.
Yeah.
You've always had great style, of course.
Thank you.
You know, you live what you preach.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to think that, you know, some people it's incongruent and they're like, you're doing what and you're what.
Although you do find though sometimes with a lot of designers, you know, they care very little about like what they are wearing. You know, and because they're just like, I make clothes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so not fascinated, but
but
just
it's interesting.
Give me the t-shirt that's over there, because that's not how they express themselves. They express themselves through what
their
they're
work,
building and their work, and that's
yeah.
their expression, and not so much what they're wearing.
I hear it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. How can people keep up with you and follow kind of your journey? I mean, you're someone who I think on issues of kind of fashion and that whole world, I definitely want us to speak a whole lot more. I know we're working on an article about you, and we're going to kind of really make noise about you, because you're just doing brilliant work. Away from being friends, I think you're just doing amazing work.
Appreciate it.
But even before people see those articles and those videos, what can they do to just kind of stay connected to your world?
Perfect. My world. Instagram, Jendaya.official, Jendaya, Jendaya, however you want to say it, it's fine. So Jendaya.official, the same Jendaya.official on Twitter as well. And then if you want to follow our agencies, Jendaya Labs, that's in the background building that. But it's still doing the work. But if you wanted to follow it, find it on Instagram and Twitter, jendaya.labs. And then myself, Ayotunde.Rufai on everything.
And you're doing so well. And I love what you said at the start, you know, friendship. The fact that, building something meaningful doesn't have to mean, you know, all the meaningful relationships in your life dry up and cease to
without
exist.
them, you know, they keep you going.
And sometimes I find, I mean, I've had some low moments and I've had some high moments, of course, building things. But you know, when something good happens, you want to share it with people. And what's more meaningful is when someone interacts with what you're doing, not doing it yourself. Like if you, I was gutted. I've got a speaking engagement coming up soon, and I requested to bring like my assistant with me, and I was like, this is going to be really good, you know. And then they were like, oh yeah, you can't do it anymore. And legit, I kind of thought, do I still want to do it? Because it's a cool gig, but it's like I've done enough like speaking stuff now. Like I would rather do it with somebody and expose them to that world, or share it with them and be like, no, this is so cool.
That usually heightens stuff for me as well, when I can bring people on the team, or even people who aren't on the team but I know would benefit out of that. Like we went to the Burberry after party and I bought
I didn't get a text from you though. I did notice that, but that's
the next one. And I brought one of my friends, specifically because I knew who'd benefit from being there, you know. And I think, you know, to your point about friendship, I guess the last thing for me, I went to a talk yesterday. My friend puts on this festival called something about writers. Oh damn, I've forgotten the name. Insert it that at here.
We most definitely won't be doing that.
I forgot the name.
Was it yesterday you went?
Yeah, yesterday. And Lena Waithe was the person speaking on the closing night for London, and she said, find a community, not necessarily just company, because when company leaves, you're drained. Company leaves and it's like, oh, finally. But when community leaves, you feel full, you feel inspired. So, and that's what those friendships that you maintain provide. They provide community, right? So I was like, I like that, Lena. That was a good one.
Nice one, Lena. Thanks, lad. For well, keep going, man. And we'll be watching and support your journey.
Thank you, sir.
Every step of the way, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Super.
Appreciate it, Michael.
Look at that.
Thank you. Woo.
Good job.
Yes.